1 minute. Dr. Z, while Randy finish up, can you get that picture of his head?
Okay, I'll get that, but we need to explain to our audience, well, first of all, that we're gonna have Mr. Franklin introduce himself and share his credentials with our audience, because while he's, part of our regular broadcast, a lot of people haven't met him yet.
Right.
And then also I need to explain that this picture is very graphic, so if you're sensitive to such matters, you may want to step away from the screen for momentarily. So Mr. Franklin, if you could just introduce yourself, and then I'll bring that picture up.
Yes, I'm sorry. I like everyone else, I try to keep my emotions down. My name is Randy Franklin. I'm a 30-year LAPD former sergeant. I spent 30 years on the streets of Los Angeles. And I have joined Louisiana United because of their great work in trying to stop predatory policing in Louisiana. So I have lent my expertise. I'm sorry. When I read reports, I try to go through reports to find out the truthfulness of the report because I've read police reports for those 30 years as a supervisor in a watch command.
Thank you, Randy. And you are very, very thorough. And without your help, we would not be dealing with, you asked the right questions. I have, we know that there is hope when we have people like you a part of our team to bring a solution and put a stop to this type of injustice. Dr. Z, before Randy go on, I have some questions for you, Randy. But before you go on, Dr. Z, can you show that picture?
Yes.
Wow. Wow. It's very graphic. And it's horrific, people, that it's obvious that this man was beat to death on video. I want Randy to go back and talk a little bit more about the cover-up. Randy, why was this so important to them that the public did not see the video? And they held the video for 2 years.
No, it's a murder. You actually saw a murder on tape. The supervisors that was called out saw their officers murder an individual on tape. Now you have to cover up this murder. So you get the right people to cover up this murder. Like York getting a 2-day suspension. I believe he got that because you called the right people in. Colonel Reed came in because I believe he was compromised because his son had just committed a manslaughter murder. So if you have a supervisor compromised, and hopefully his son will be held for that murder too, those 2 kids he killed. So you got a supervisor, you have a compromise, who you get to do the investigation. But it didn't just stop with the police department. It had to go to the district attorney office, and I hear all the way up to the governor, who covered up this murder. Because there's no reason for an investigation of this. I mean, you have all the evidence in front of you. You have the police actually lying in their report about what actually happened to Mr. Green. He did not hit a tree. So that's your first indication that these officers are now starting to lie with the help of their supervisors. Wow. So their supervisors helped them cover up this murder. And then they gave to the DA, we got our officers murdering him on tape. What are we supposed to do? Well, we're not going to release the video. We're not going to charge them. In fact, they released these murderers back into the community for 2 years.
Wow.
Which caused harm to the citizens of Louisiana when they should have been taken into custody, not given a vacation paid leave, which we'll talk about down the road. But this is systemic, and this is what I tell people all the time. Whenever the police see something on their body cameras that they need to cover up, this is the worst blatant case I've seen of it going all the way up to the governor's office. and he's not assigning a special prosecutor or attorney general of the state of Louisiana to come down 2 years ago and take these officers into custody. So, and if you read these reports, everywhere down the road, you see a cover up, you see a lie. He died at that scene. Even in Mr. Ripken's report, he said they got the word from the ambulance that he was dead. Now, if we want to know when he died, all we got to do is get the ambulance when they got on scene, because they took his pulse. So we'll know when we get the information from the ambulance that responded. When they put him in the ambulance, did he have a pulse? Or he didn't, or he had a fake pulse. And he was dying when they put him in the ambulance. So they went a block and he died. So we don't know that until we get their report from the ambulance that showed up. And they will have it documented when he died exactly. Or if he was dead at scene. Now, I've been on tons of cases where people have died on scene, or we put them in the ambulance on their way to the hospital. But this is just from the sergeant to the lieutenant to the captain. When they got on scene, they knew Mr. Green was dead. And then they start fabricating stories to cover their ass. And you can see that maybe it's a tight-knit community, but my God, it left there. It went to the chief. It went from the chief to the district attorney, from the district attorney to the governor. All the way down the line, it shows you the systemic. Well, I was to say that the accountability wasn't there for anyone, and that emboldened police. And that's why Mr. York went back on the street, emboldened that he just beat a man to death and he got 2 days suspension. And he now arrested, one officer was arrested, the other was dead. I tell you all the time, if you follow these officers, you will find out that they are clipped and they are used to beating officers. I mean, beating individuals. And they were so emboldened that they text each other to congratulate each other for beating Mr. Green to death.
Wow. I know you had had the opportunity to look at the video, but could you tell the world, what is it that we're really dealing with here?
Well, I watched the video and I read the police reports, and I believe he was dead at scene. What's really bad about this is what you stated before. After they beat him to death, the real video is 46 minutes. After they beat him to death, they had such a arrogant and no give a shit attitude that they called their supervisors to the scene to help them cover up this crime. I say that they helped them cover up this crime because when they got to the scene, the car wasn't wrecked, and he didn't hit a tree. And with their supervisors and the detectives there, they put this narrative together that he had hit a tree and died upon impact, which lets me believe he died at scene while they were beating him to death. I also watched the video, and I agree with that use of force expert, but at no time did I see Mr. Floyd resisting. I mean, you're asking for my hands while you're tasing me at the same time. And I would like to give you my hand, but if I'm being tasered, it makes you ball up in a knot. So I can't hand you my hand while you're tasering me. That's just a fact of being tasered. So I'm face down and being tasered, and the whole time, because police know that when they want to beat you to death, they will just keep yelling, stop resisting, while they keep punching you when you're not resisting at all. And this video clearly shows that he wasn't resisting. You can see his hands in the air, and as they try to get his other hand, which they just have to reach down and get it, they just keep tasing him. And the cover up, this is so blatant, and this is why police reform is so hard. It's because when the officers on the street know that their supervisors will cover a murder up for them, cover it up, that they can do this stuff. So after they beat him to death, they called it. And I was reading Mr. Let me get his name right, Ripken's report. And he stated that once they got him in cuffs, they requested the ambulance because it was apparent that he needed medical treatment. He was bleeding from the head. So the narrative of he died of a heart attack or anything else is not realistic when it's in a police report. And his exact words were, apparently he needs he said, definitely he needs medical attention, medical assistance, because he was bleeding from a head wound. So they were just punching him to death. And it shows you how out of control Mr. York was, who's now been arrested. That even after Mr. Floyd was on the ground, he couldn't get the anger out of him, that he had to go grab his feet and drag him face down. And there was no call for it at all. It was malicious. That itself is a crime.
Randy, could you? Wow, Randy, hold up for a minute. I really would want give Robert the opportunity to come in and introduce himself. But the cover up, to me, the cover up is the worst thing. When we have our elected officials, when you say that it went all the way up to the governor, and if not the attorney general, and for 2 years, and if my understanding that was a 2019 was an election year for the governorship, which was this incident happened in May, and the election was for November, and it was covered up while we had a serious election going on. And these videos, this incident was covered up. And then the worst part is the cover up.
Well, Ms. Brown, we keep talking like the cover has stopped. It has not. They did not give people on the video. The video was leaked. So it ain't like they gave you the video saying we have now given you the video because we have come to a conclusion. Remember, this video was leaked. So the cover-up hasn't stopped. It's still going on. No one has come out and told you to this day that, we released the video.
It just makes me wonder, Randy, when you think about that, if it had not been leaked out, would we be at, day before yesterday is when the video, actually the leak came out, and now a day or so later, the whole entire video comes out. So what do you think about that, Randy?
Well, they're doing a dance. A dance of cover-up. Remember this, murder has no statute of limitation. No matter where you go, or you transfer, or you retire, murder has no statute of limitation. Just because you left your job doesn't mean you get to say, okay, I'll wash my hands of it. You do not. If Colonel Davis is saying that he's looking to indict, because I believe this should be taken out of, with all the cover-up and lies, that it should be taken out of their hands and given to a state attorney general and given to the FBI for civil rights violations. And no matter where these officers go, they should be tracked down because they did commit a murder. There's no way Mr. Green can have those injuries to his face unless they got him standing up boxing with these officers, which I did not see. I saw them drag him out the car on what they showed and him hit the ground. So there's no way he should have those contusions all over his face, his hands, unless they ball up their fists and beat this man to death. Everyone keeps saying, everyone keeps saying they left their job or they retired or they moved on. That has nothing to do with this murder. We should go get those policemen. We should get the supervisors that covered up this crime. Because what Colonel Davis did not address, Mr. Green did not hit a tree. That's a lie right there. So while Colonel Davis tried to soft shoe you down the road as if he's doing something. This immediately, for 2 years, they had time to investigate this. And because of this video leak, they're talking about now they're going to investigate it. Maybe he should be 2 years down the road right now. But now he's saying, I just started to investigate. What, yesterday?
Wow. And you know, that's what I'm trying to keep my passion down. I'm like Lauren, you know, and my blood is boiling because of the fact that there's so much that can be said about this. You know, and I'm very disturbed. I'm at the point where, you know, my words are just shaking to come out because of the fact that when you think about every single person, you know, all the way up to the governor's office and down, that touched, that know, that covered it up.
Let me put it this way.
Needs vote.
Suppose 6 of us beat a policeman up, and we beat him to death, and a crowd came around and cheered us on for beating him to death. And then while we had that policeman unconscious, we grabbed that policeman's feet and we drugged that policeman face down along the ground. They will indict every single person at that scene will be indicted murder.
Yes.
In that murder.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Randy. And like you said, they got to go home and go back to work the next day, you know.
Exactly.
That we're talking about the cover up. We're talking about how the politics get involved with this. You know, who's going to cover, you know, each other's back. You know, one of the things I was hoping that Robert can come back and say that, you know, the history of our governor and law enforcement. Robert, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Certainly, and I actually have this on video, and when I do this sound off feature, I will include it. During one of the debates, he stressed that, he said, my father's a sheriff, grandfather's a sheriff, my brother's a sheriff.
Let me tell you something. I am the brother of a sheriff, the son of a sheriff, the grandson of a sheriff, and the great-grandson of a sheriff.
So he is from a family of sheriffs, and his brother is a sheriff in Tangipahoa Parish, you know, I guess he kind of broke from the fold, so to speak, in that he didn't, you know, pursue a law enforcement career and became a lawyer and then became a representative and of course is now governor. But make no mistake, his father and his grandfather were very well-known sheriffs from Tangipahoa Parish. His whole family is law enforcement, and specifically their sheriffs.
So there is no doubt in my mind that he should have known better. You know, he should have known better than to cover this up for 2 years. People, listen. You know, to me, you know, all of these people, the officers, they violated their oath of office that they swore to. They betrayed the public trust when they covered this up.
Yeah, oh, yes, we do need the vote. We really do. And it occurs, as I'll tell you, it occurs to everyone. African Americans, we get more publicity about the deaths when we get beat to death on the video all the time. I believe the way to do it is that if you want accountability, you have to start booking supervisors. You have to arrest them because they're the ones, for the line officers on the street, that let them get away with murder like they did this time. And for the governor, listen, he could be from a law enforcement family, but what type of law enforcement family did he come from is the question. I mean, you gotta say, if his grandfather and great-grandfathers were back in the early 1900s all the way up to the 60s and 70s, they could have been just like these police. We don't know. I mean, it's great to run on a law enforcement background that your family is law enforcement, but if the governor knew about this video and covered it up, it shows you what type of law enforcement what side he's going to when you talk about law enforcement. He's for the policemen, but he's not for his constituents. His constituents who put him in office. He basically don't give a crap about them.
Wow.
You could not look at his video and say, I come from a law and order background. And I'm going to call the attorney general, and attorney generals go down there. We have to stop letting the people who beat us investigate themselves. I don't want you to give me someone in your organization whose career and everyday income is based upon your findings. They should have been taken completely out of their hands and given to someone else. And the mere fact that Colonel Davis making a statement today is mildly interested. And the question is, how long did Colonel Davis have this investigation in front of him? And what did he do in the meantime from the time he got it till now? I don't see any indictments. I don't see any police that's been relieved of duty without pay. I don't see any arrests. So, I listen to what people say. But like Rachel Matt, I'd say, don't watch what they say, watch what they do.
Yeah. Calling for you now. This is a safe place. A lot of times, we don't have nowhere to turn. We don't know who to talk to, who to trust. But we're saying that we're here for you. And that's the reason why we know for a fact that we're going to put a stop to this. I want to thank all of my special guests that came on tonight in this broadcast, but most of all, we want to give all of our condolence and our sympathy to the Green family. We want you to know that we are here for you, we care, and we're not going to stop until we get justice for Ronald Green. Thank you for tuning in tonight.